But what I want to know, and I'm just trying to figure out, who is my real friend? Because this is an opportunity for you guys to swing whichever way you want. I want to see who the real soldiers for Karen Huger is, because I certainly don't want any fake bitches around me.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 9, Episode 1. And before we get started, let me just say, before you try to whack me down in those comments asking, well, I thought you weren't watching, I thought you were done. Hold on. I told y'all a few months ago that I would be basing my decision on what I saw in the trailer. And what I saw in the trailer had me a bit intrigued. And I'm allowed to go back and change my mind like everybody else. And I'd be lying to you if I said that I was not interested in seeing how things are about to play out now that Robin and Candace are both gone. Y'all know I love Candace. I'm sad that she's not on for this season. But when I tell you guys, this season 9 premiere episode felt like we might be back on track. This premiere was giving me the early days. It almost felt like I was watching season 3 or season 4 when everything was good. I'm calling it right now that this might actually be a fun, lighthearted season. None of this crazy stupidity, none of that toxicity, because I thought that Gizelle was actually pleasant and likable. She took me back to season 1 days. Now, for everybody who swears that I just hate Gizelle, let me refresh your memory that when Potomac came on, I didn't have my YouTube channel. So if you followed me on Twitter, then you know that Gizelle was my favorite one on season 1. I didn't like Karen. I did not like Charisse. I thought that Ashley was still miserable like she is now. I thought that Katie was a bit nutty. I was indifferent towards her. I also found Robin to be likable as well. But yeah, I actually liked Gizelle and Robin a lot in the earlier seasons. Somewhere around season 2, season 3, that's when things fell off the rails, and I was like, girl, what is going on? Are you all right? So with that being said, I'm going into this season with no expectations, let the chips fall where they may, and I'm going to have fun regardless. You know, that's where I'm at with it. But gone are the days where I'm screaming at the camera and getting worked up. I'm not doing that. But y'all, without further ado, let's just jump right on into it, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Bravo has truly been in their bag lately, because we start off this episode with the reenactment of the night of Karen's DUI. So we see that on March 19th of this year, Karen is driving home from dinner at 11:19 p.m. So now we see that at 11:42 p.m., Karen is driving on, I think it was called Oakland Drive in Potomac, and the screen gets really blurry, and then all of a sudden a deer jumps out. So the next thing that we see is a car swerving off the road, and then we hear sirens. And then we see that at 11:50, Karen was taken into custody and was cited with a DUI. And now we fast forward to a month later. So we start things off with Gizelle. Gizelle is driving over to Karen's house, and as she's on her way there, she calls up her good old friend Ashley. So they're making small talk. And then she tells Ashley that she's on her way to pick up Karen to have some lunch. So she's like, yeah, I just want to see how she's doing. She hasn't been out the house. And here goes Ashley on the other end talking about, oh yeah, I can only imagine, especially since this is her second DUI. I'm sure it's terrifying. I said one thing about Miss Ashley Darby. Ashley Darby is going to always remind you of your past mistakes. Ashley can't help herself. And don't get me wrong, I will be going in on Karen in just a few minutes, but what I cannot stand about Ashley is that she takes delight in other people's downfalls. And can we quickly talk about how Ashley has overstayed her welcome on this franchise? If you ask me, Ashley should have been fired when the whole butt grab with Michael happened in season 4. Anybody else would have been fired. I'm so confused as to how Ashley is still here. I've been really hard on the majority of this cast, but I have always maintained that Ashley Darby is the most diabolical one on this cast. So Gizelle agrees, and then she says that she was in shock to see that Karen's car was totaled and to see all those charges. So now we cut to Ashley's confessional, and she says that when she heard the news, her heart sank. I said, girl, no, it didn't. You were probably sitting up there happy because like I just said a few minutes ago, you live for the downfall of other people. So now we cut to Gizelle in her confessional, and she says that, again, it was shocking to see all the charges, a DUI, a DWI, and then on top of that, Karen was driving with an unregistered license and an unregistered car. So now production shows all the citations that Karen received, and they were a lot. I was like, my God. So now we cut right back to Gizelle, and she says that her and Karen have been friends for a long time. She loves Karen, she cares about her, and she's here to support her in any way that she can. Now, this might come as a shock to everybody, but when Gizelle said that, I actually felt like she was being sincere. I didn't sense any shade or any messiness. Now we cut to Wendy's confessional, and she says that her first thought was, is Karen okay? And that she was shocked. Now we cut to Mia's confessional, and she says that you can do whatever you want to yourself, but just don't endanger society. Then she goes on to add that she is Karen Huger, darling, so next time get a car. And now we jump right back over to Ashley's confessional, where she says that she's so surprised because she never thought that Karen would be a repeat offender. And I said, once again, one thing about Ashley, she will never fail to remind you of your past mistakes, because in a 5-minute span, Ashley had already pointed out that this was Karen's second DUI like 10 times. I said, girl, we get it. So Gizelle gets off the phone with Ashley, and she arrives at Karen's. She goes to the door, rings the bell. Ray opens up the door, and there's Miss Karen Huger ready to go. So as they're driving off, Gizelle says, is it triggering if we drive past the crash site? So Karen at first doesn't really answer, but then she says, well, no, it's not triggering, but I'd rather not drive by it. Honestly, I felt like Karen was just saying that. I do think that she's triggered because her facial expression when Gizelle asked, she seemed annoyed. I thought the timing was crazy because we see a deer jump out again, and Karen freaks out. So we cut to Karen's confessional, and already Karen is on some BS. Now, Miss Karen Huger, I'm gonna let you know right now that it's about to be you and I, because I don't like the way you're handling this entire DUI. The fact that Shannon Bedore on The Real Housewives of Orange County right now, Season 18, going through the same exact thing. She got a DUI last September, and this season has been all about that. Shannon has taken full ownership, full accountability. The first episode, she starts it off saying, I'm sorry, I effed up, I'll never do it again. We have seen remorse. Miss Mamas has done a fantastic job with getting the viewers on her side. If you don't watch OC, by the way, please watch them. One of my all-time favorite franchises, and those girls always have an amazing season, and this season has been phenomenal, all right? I would never steer you wrong, but I digress. But Karen, the fact that we're watching another housewife on another franchise take full ownership, and then to have you playing in our faces, no ma'am. So anyhow, Karen is in her confessional talking about since the accident, she's had so much time to reflect. And then she goes on to say that she can't give that many details because the case still hasn't been adjudicated. And I said, Karen, I'm not here for you talking in circles, not taking ownership, referring to it as the accident versus calling it a DUI. I don't like that. This is a very serious matter. You drove intoxicated. Take ownership. Now, shout out to one of my mutuals on Twitter because you found the legal documents of Karen's case and you explained how Karen actually can't talk about the case is because she refused the breathalyzer, and because of that, it has to be taken to trial. While I understand that, I still feel like there's a way for Karen to still convey remorse and sorrow for what happened. And that's always been one of my biggest issues with Karen. Besides her playing Switzerland, which also drives me crazy, I really can't stand how when Karen is in the hot seat, she always deflects. She's been doing it since the beginning. But then when somebody else has drama, you're the first one invested. The way you were on Robin's ass about her fake relationship with Juan all those years, the way you got on Ashley and Michael about their whole situation. Now when you do something stupid, now it's crickets. Now it's mum's the word. We can't get a straight answer. You're acting like you're a victim here. You're not a victim. You did something stupid by drinking too much, getting behind a wheel, and now you need to face the consequences. So Karen continues by saying that her injuries were not life-threatening and that her ribs and her ankles were the only thing that got hurt. And then she adds that she now knows the value of life. I said, okay, Karen. So anyhow, Karen and Gizelle pull up to this diner and we find out that it's one of Karen's favorite places. The waiter knows her. And when Karen goes there, she always orders her favorite meal, which they call the Karen special. And it's French toast, scrambled eggs, and bacon. So they both order the same thing. And now Gizelle says, look, I'm happy that we're here, but I do feel like we need to have a conversation. Now, right off the bat, Karen's facial expression is showing you that she's not trying to talk because she already knows that Gizelle's going to bring up her DUI. So Karen's like, I mean, okay, girl, I guess. And I said again, Karen, you can't have that attitude. You could have taken your life or somebody else's life. You could have been seriously harmed. So for you to act like you can't be bothered with this conversation, I'm sorry, Karen, but this attitude is not going to fly. You shying away from it and not wanting to talk about it makes you look worse. So Gizelle starts it off by saying that when she heard about the accident, she couldn't believe it. She couldn't imagine something happening to Karen, and it really shook her up. Gizelle continues on and says that she knows that Karen doesn't do stupid things, and Karen says, I don't. And I said, but girl, that night you did. So Gizelle brings up all the citations that Karen got, the DUI, the DWI, and she says that that's not Karen. So Karen interjects and says, look, it's a legal matter. I can't really talk about it. But as your friend, let me say this. I can't wait for the truth to come out. Now, I was confused hearing that because, Karen, we all saw the charges. So I don't know what truth you're waiting on, but okay. So now Gizelle wants to know if Karen has been to court yet. And Karen looks at her and says, you can read. It's so irritating how defensive Karen gets when she's the one in the wrong. Had this been anybody else in this group, she'd be saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that. Well, what happened? What's your lawyer saying? What did you do? Like, we know how Karen operates. So the fact that she's telling Gizelle, oh, well, you can read all about it. I don't need to say anything. Girl, speak up. Don't get mad at anybody else. Be mad at yourself for making a stupid decision. And Karen, this all could have been avoided by calling yourself an Uber. And you have the money. There's no excuse for this. Honestly, I'm very paranoid about stuff like that. So if I know that I'm going to have 1 drink, 2 drinks, it's an automatic Uber ride for me. I don't mind paying a $100 Uber. I don't care if it's a $200 Uber, but I refuse to get in that car drunk because the consequences are a lot more dire. Saving a few dollars is not worth it in the long run. So now you have Karen telling Gizelle to stop and that Gizelle knows better. And I said, I'm so sorry, Karen, but I probably would have cursed you out for that. Don't tell me to stop anything. And also, Miss Mamas, you put yourself and other people's lives in jeopardy. I don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, you know better. No, you know better, and you didn't do better. And also, you signed up to be on the show to show us your real life. So how dare you say, well, you know better, I don't want to talk about that. No, that's not how this goes. And if we're being honest, Karen has not had a real storyline since season 5. So Karen, knowing that, and knowing that you've been coasting for several seasons, I think that it's in your best interest to let the viewers know what's really going on in season 9. Just my opinion. So Gizelle changes gears and she brings up Ray. She wants to know, how is Ray doing through all of this? And Karen says, we're going through a lot right now. And I say, here we go. Here we go. Karen is about to give us a sob story about how now newfound marital issues have played into her accident, as she wants to call it. I said, girl, please spare me. So anyhow, Karen gives us this long song and dance about how she needs Ray to be there for her emotionally. I said, Karen, Kyle Richards gave us that same exact storyline last season of Beverly Hills. So I said, if you think that you're about to pull from the same playbook to avoid talking about what really happened the night of your DUI, you've really got another thing coming, sis, because absolutely not. Tell us what really happened. So now Karen blames her accident on grief and marital issues. And I said, Karen, I'm not buying it. I'm not going to even sit up here and feed into your delusions. Karen, that is unacceptable. And it's always an excuse with you. And before anybody says, well, she lost her parents, yes, she did. And I'm not negating the fact that that's a pain that never goes away. It never fully heals. But you can't use that as an excuse. And I'm saying that as somebody who is 30 years younger than Karen and lost my dad 3 years ago unexpectedly. And I'm not trying to compare grief, but the thing is, you can't use things as a crutch for bad behavior. Yes, something bad happened to you, but you can't use that to justify doing something wrong. At the end of the day, if you get behind the wheel intoxicated, you're wrong. And if Karen had injured somebody or taken somebody's life or been injured herself, nobody would want to hear about her issues that led to what she did. Karen is too grown to sit up here and play in our faces like this. And Karen has been dragging out this whole marital issues with Ray storyline for seasons. And if you ask me, they've both looked checked out of that marriage for years. I only feel like they're still together because Ray probably feels like, well, he's too old to get a divorce. He's what, 80 years old? So I'm sure he's not trying to spend the rest of his years solo. And then I think that Karen enjoys still being married because we know that Karen loves saying that her marriage is an institution and she loves being a wife. So I honestly feel like that's the only thing keeping her there. So now Karen says that she held it down when Ray had his tax issues years ago. And we all remember when Uncle Ben had the tax issues, aka Ray, the Black Bill Gates, and Karen held that press conference, her and her jumbo Gucci belt. Now that was a moment. So now the waiter comes over and gives them some free donuts, and he gives Karen a hug and says that Karen is one of his favorite customers and that she always comes in here and she never orders a drink. So Gizelle's like, well, sir, you guys don't serve drinks at this restaurant. So he was like, girl, yes, we do. The ladies behind you, they're all drinking. Now Gizelle was not having it. She said, Karen clearly paid this man to say that she doesn't drink. I'm not buying it. And it did feel very rehearsed. It felt very contrived. I got that impression too that Karen called ahead and said, hey, I'm about to be filming. It's my first scene since my DUI. So when you see me, make sure you tell Gizelle that when I come here, I don't order a drink. Because we know that Karen is very calculated, especially when it comes to her image. But yeah, Karen, that did feel a bit phony to have the waiter come over and say, oh, she's our favorite customer and she never orders a drink here. I don't buy it. And we know good and well that when you order the Karen special, you order a nice Bellini or mimosa with your French toast, scrambled eggs, and bacon. So please stop. So they finally stopped talking about Karen's DUI and Karen is elated. And Gizelle says, well, somebody has a birthday coming up and I want to host a lunch for you. So Karen is excited to hear this. Gizelle says that she wants to invite everybody in the group, including Wendy. So Karen is on board, she's excited, but she also has some other friends that she wants to invite as well. So she says that she wants to invite her friend Vivian and her friend Stacy. And we all know that Stacy is the newest housewife on the show. So Karen says that Stacy is a great girl. She's a family girl. She's married, used to live in Philly, worked at QVC, but now she's back in the DMV and she wants Stacy to be there. So now Karen starts asking if Gizelle has talked to any of the girls. So Gizelle says, yup, I talk to Ashley all the time. But when it comes to Mia, I haven't heard from her, haven't talked to her. She's on a world tour right now. So they start talking about Mia's new man, Ink. And it was so funny because they were like, what's his name again? Karen's talking about, is his name DJ Applebox because he's so short? I said, not DJ Applebox. But they start talking about Ink's height and how in pictures, Mia and Ink never take a picture side by side. She's always standing behind him to make him look taller. But it's like, Mia, we all know that you're taller than your man, and it's okay. So now Gizelle says that while Mia looks happy, she does think that Mia has moved a bit too fast, and how she has one man out and another man in, and it's a revolving door, it's too much. And I agree 100%. I feel like this situation with Mia is a hot, raggedy-ass mess, and Mia's children will be affected by these decisions. Now we get to Mia, and first things first, Mia, are you not embarrassed to be exploiting your family drama like this for a check? And I know you've been doing this since you got on this show in season 6, but there has to be a limit. And it feels like you will do anything for $1 that you really don't care. This is so dark and so gutter. I'm like, girl, what is going on? But anyhow, we see Mia and Gordon with their kids, and they're getting ice cream. So we see Mia in her confessional, and she says that despite her and Gordon being separated, having Gordon in the kids' lives is important. Now, when production played the flashback from the finale last season, and they showed the clip where Gordon said, if you want fair, go to a carnival, that read lives in my head rent-free. I mean, that was a read. I said, somebody give Gordon a flute, because the way Gordon had her gagged, he had me gagged when he said that. So we see the kids get their ice cream, they're playing around on their scooters, and now it's just Mia and Gordon sitting down, and they're talking about their issues. So Mia says, well, how was it when you picked the kids up from school the other day? Gordon says it was great, and then he adds that he's happy that they've been able to find a rhythm that works for them. So Mia says, yeah, we've come a long way, we're in a great space now, but I felt like during our marriage, I gave everything. The way Gordon looked at her, he was like, now girl, stop. He says, you gave a lot, but I wouldn't say that you gave it your all. He says, that's your point of view, that's your opinion, but again, I don't feel like you gave the last step. So Mia's like, well, what's the last step? So Gordon says the last step is separate first and not run directly to somebody else. So Mia's upset hearing this, and she's like, that's not what I did, that's not what happened. And Gordon says, yes, it is. Now, Mia, why are you lying? Last season, it was revealed that you were seeing Ink while you guys were still married. And Miss Mamas, Gordon already told us that you had been cheating the entire time you were married. For you to say that you gave it your all in the marriage, no, you didn't. So of course, since Mia's being called out on her BS, she tries to switch topics, and she's like, you know what? I don't want to talk about this. Let's just focus on co-parenting our children. So now she brings up how Gordon does not want Jeremiah to go and get haircuts with her new boyfriend, Ink. I don't know about you, but Gordon had me screaming. His answers, his body language, he was not here for Mia in this conversation. He was like, you said it, not me. So now Mia says, well, that's all a part of co-parenting. And Gordon says, no, he's not a parent. That's not co-parenting. I said, oh, whack her again.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
So now Mia reassures Gordon that despite what he thinks, Ink is not trying to replace him. So now Mia shares that Ink is actually coming to visit this weekend and how he wants a paternity test. So Gordon is not here for it. He's like, wait, I know 100% that Jeremiah is my child. Now, I was confused hearing this because we went over this already. At last year's reunion, Mia said that Jeremiah is Gordon's child. She said, I had an IUI, and I know for certain that Gordon is Jeremiah's father. Also, if you look at Jeremiah, Jeremiah favors Gordon. So let's stop. I know that you want to make this more salacious and crazier than what it already is, but there's no need for a test when you said out of your own mouth at the reunion that you know for a fact that Gordon is the father of Jeremiah. So why are you backtracking now and acting like you have no idea who the father is? This is so stupid. So Mia starts getting all aggressive, and she's like, you told the world that I didn't know who my child's father is. You started this whole thing, so finish it. So Gordon's like, I didn't start anything. I'm not finishing anything. I know for a fact that that's my child. And I said, exactly. Mia, you sound and look like a weirdo. Because again, you said out your own mouth that you know 100% that that's Gordon's child. And trust and believe, we're going to talk in depth about what Gizelle and Karen said to you at Karen's birthday lunch, because they told no lies. But again, I'm not going to jump ahead. So Mia and Gordon are going back and forth. Gordon is like, I'm not taking a test. I know that that's my child. Just tell that child who his father is, and it's me. So Mia's like, well, I have doubts, and I don't want him to grow up and question who his father is. And I said, Mia, are you well? Just say that you're doing this for a storyline, because this makes no sense. It's just sheer stupidity, because what are we talking about? In all seriousness, Mia, you need to be worried about your son being bullied and teased about his mom using this as a storyline to stay on a show. If anything, your son is going to have questions like, Mom, why did you embarrass me and the family like this? I think what really gets me is there are just some things that need to stay in your own home. Everything is not for public consumption. Even if Mia had doubts about who the father of her child is, we shouldn't know anything about this. This feels gross, it feels disgusting, it feels disturbing that we're even privy to all of this. And Mia does not even see that what she's doing on a national stage is going to cause a lot of heartache, pain, confusion, and emotional turmoil that he might have to unpack for the rest of his life. There are 1,000,001 other storylines that you could give us, but this should not be one of them. In my humble opinion, Mia was better off sticking with the whole throuple, her and Jacqueline having some secret lesbian relationship. I would prefer that over exploiting your own kids. Because you, Jacqueline, and Gordon are all grown. Your child is a child. He doesn't deserve this. So now you have Mia talking about, oh, well, Ink wants to go to court then if you won't comply. And Gordon was like, okay, let him do it. Like, I don't care. You could just tell that he was trying to restrain himself, because had those cameras not been on, he probably would have cursed Mia out. And I also feel like Ink wants attention too, because he knows good and damn well that Jeremiah is not his son. He just wants some notoriety and some fame as well. So now Mia's talking about Ink is entitled to know as a man, and Gordon was completely done because he snaps. He's like, look, you need to be telling Ink that I'm his dad. Leave it the F alone. I said, let her know. I said, Gordon, please let her know. She is playing in your face, the audience's face. She's playing in everybody's damn face. I'm really hoping and praying that this is Mia's last season. Mia should have honestly been fired after season 7 when she pulled that stunt going upside Wendy's head like that. That should have been it. But Wendy, you know I love you down, but I low-key blame you for why Mia is still here, because when you sat up there and you were fake flirting with her on that Mexico trip, had you paid her dust like we all told you to do, Mia probably would have been gone. But the minute you sat up there fake flirting with her, talking about, oh girl, you know, you got a pretty coochie and all that stuff, I said, oh, it's a wrap. Mia's gonna stay on. Watch. And what happened? She's still here. We're skipping right past Ashley's scene. Y'all know how I feel about Miss Ashley Darby. Absolutely not. This whole divorce storyline has been going on for too long. How are you still not divorced yet? So now we jump to a short scene with Wendy, and Wendy's at home. And a quick side note, I'm curious to find out if Wendy's going to talk about her robbery, because remember she was robbed right before filming started. So I wonder if we're going to hear her talk about that. I'm sure that was jarring. But anyhow, we see Wendy in her home office, and she's putting her plaques up, and we find out that her time as a professor is over. She's resigning. So she's excited and she's nervous. She's telling Eddie all about it. And then we see her on her computer sending out her resignation letter, and it's done. So we learn that she's wanted to resign for quite some time. Since she's on the cusp of turning 40, she wants to spend more time with her family, and she's just over it. Now, I'm here for it. I feel like do what makes you happy. But I also feel like Dr. Wendy is trying to give us socialite, honey, and be out in these streets, and she doesn't have any time anymore to be in the classroom, and I'm not upset. Now, was anybody else a bit confused or surprised when Wendy said that she's a bit nervous to tell her mom about her resigning? She was like, well, I can see her cursing me out and then praying. And I said, but girl, why would your mom curse you out because you resigned from your job? You're grown. You can do whatever you want to do. And you don't need your mom's or anybody else's permission to live your life the way you see fit. I was like, well, hopefully she's just joking about that, because I don't understand why a parent would be upset if you wanted to leave your job. This might be so random, but I love being an adult. Like, ever since I was little, I always knew that I wanted to be an adult. And I know folks always say, oh, well, being an adult, it's all these bills and all that stuff. And I'm like, I really don't care about that. I love being an adult, like full autonomy. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, however I want. Like, I'm not forced to be around people that I don't want to be around. Like, just fabulous. I do not miss being a kid. Never did. I mean, it was a good childhood, but when I was a kid, I always knew that I could not wait to be an adult. Love it. Chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, no notes, okay? So now we get to Miss Karen and her friend Vivian's boutique. We've seen Vivian a few times throughout the seasons. She owns a dress boutique in the mall, and we find out that Karen and her used to talk about being business owners back in the day. So she's proud of her friend, and she's in her shop ready to buy a dress. So we see the newest housewife arrive, and her name is Stacy. So we find out from Miss Stacy that she used to live in Philly when she worked for QVC, but now she's back in the DMV where she belongs. So Stacy says that when she first met Karen, they hit it off. They met through Vivian, and she says that her and Karen are pretty much the same person. So Stacy says that she needs a dress for some upcoming gala, and now she goes in the fitting room to try some things on. Now, it's no shade. God bless any business owners. Vivian seems like a nice woman, but the gowns that I was seeing in the shop looked a bit dated. It was giving me 2004 pageant gowns. I don't know if it's just me, but that's the vibe that I got. So as Stacy's in the dressing room, Karen and Vivian are both gossiping about the fact that Stacy's not wearing her wedding ring. Stacy comes out the dressing room, and now Karen says, look, me and Vivian both noticed that you're not wearing your ring. What's tea? So Stacy reveals that she has been separated. It's been a year. So Karen is shocked. She's like, wait, what? I had no idea. I can't believe this. You guys have been married for such a long time. So we find out from Stacy that her and her soon-to-be ex-husband were married for 16 years. And he's a very successful German businessman. So we find out that they met on a plane, and it was love at first sight. They have one daughter together. So Stacy goes on to say that it's really hard for her because she thought that she'd be married forever, but that's not the case. But then she adds that she knows deep down that she made the right decision. But so far, I'm very intrigued by Stacy, and I'm happy that she's on. I like her energy, very bubbly, fun, and the girls are saying that you bring a whole lot this season, and I think it was either Dr. Wendy or Karen who said that you're a combination of Katie Ross and I forgot the other one's name. But yeah, to be compared to Katie Ross, that means that you a little bit crazy, because we know Katie Ross had a whole lot going on with her. But again, I digress. And for all the Katie fans out there, please let the dream die of Katie ever coming back. It's not going to happen. She burned the bridge with Bravo. They're not going to have her back on. So let the mouse go, in the words of Sutton Strack. Now, from Stacy's body language, it was clear that she was not trying to talk about her separation, because when the champagne came out, there was only water in Karen's flute, right? So they toast, and now Stacy says, well, oh my gosh, I forgot. Karen, is it okay if we drink in front of you? The way Karen wanted to curse her out, she was looking at her like, girl, stop. Let's not get shady. So Karen says, oh no, that's fine. You can drink in front of me. It's just that I'm on medication. That's why I'm drinking water right now. But pretty soon I'll be able to join you guys and have a libation with y'all as well. So I just said, girl, Stacy, It was very nice, nasty, wrapped up in, oh, I'm so concerned for you, and Karen saw right through it. But Karen, you're also nice, nasty too. So I felt no ways about Stacy low-key reading you about, oh, can we drink in front of you, girl? Is that okay? So now it's the day of Karen's Hatitude birthday lunch hosted by Gizelle. And she says that today is all about style, love, and grace, and she wants all the women to act like they have some. So Ashley arrives, and girl, Ashley showed up with a new wig on. I guess the wig was an improvement from what we've seen in the past. When she borrowed her mom's wig that time, that was crazy. But I guess this wig was a step up. Again, when it comes to Ashley, her and fashion and her and style don't go together. But anyhow, she shows up and she has her gift. So she's like, oh, Gizelle, do you think that Karen is going to like my gift? It's a bounce back gift basket. So she says, I got her a water bottle, some Uber gift cards. I said, girl. Now, don't get me wrong, Uber gift cards are great. But in this case, this was shade. I don't understand why you couldn't get her a cute Bloomingdale's gift card or a spa gift card, a bouquet of flowers. Ashley, you just can't help yourself. You really can't. And how much did you put on the Uber gift card anyway? You're so cheap, you probably only gave her $15 worth. She probably did 5, 5, and 5. Then we see that Ashley also included a paint a birdhouse kit, and she says it's because Karen needs to find something else to do. I said, girl, what? Ashley, you have a lot to say for somebody who has no storyline and has been playing in our faces about this fake divorce that's never going to happen. So Ashley says that she wants to know, where's Karen's state of mind at? And Gizelle says, well, I saw her the other day, we talked, and she was telling me that she's going through a lot with her and Ray. And she's also not trying to get into the whole thing about what happened that night. So Ashley's like, well, okay. And I said, but we know that Ashley is going to ask. At some point down the road, she will be questioning Karen about what the hell happened on that night. So they change gears, and now Gizelle brings up how she invited Wendy today. So Gizelle says, yup, I'm all about peace these days. And then we cut to her confessional, and she reveals that ever since her father passed, she's had more compassion and more empathy. Now, the way I clutched my pearls, because Gizelle, throughout the majority of your time on this show, we've yet to hear you ever utter those words. Even your kids told you that you're a bit of an ice queen and robotic. So to hear you utter the words compassion and empathy, I said, wow, that talking to from Bravo must have been real stern, huh? But listen, I'm not mad at it. I've been asking for years to see some growth out of you, so to see it. But Gizelle continues on and says that her and Wendy are not in the best place and she wants it to get better. And then she goes on to say that since her dad's passing, she realizes that tomorrow is not promised. Again, I'm happy to hear this because these shows can't work when people refuse to put aside the BS and try to find a way forward. But Gizelle, I am going to bring it back to previous seasons, though. The reason why you and Wendy are not in a good place is because of your actions. It happened in season 6. Had you not said those nasty comments about Wendy's loose because she got a BBL, then saying that the reason why she got her body done was to keep Eddie at home because of the rumors that he was cheating, that wasn't right. Let's not act like you and Wendy fell out because it was Wendy's fault. It was your fault for why you guys fell out in the first place. It did not have to be that way. And I always felt like your anger towards Wendy wasn't justified at all. And I'm praying in the sit-down conversation next Sunday, I really hope that you apologize for how you treated Wendy when you said that you didn't care about her getting hit upside the head by Mia in season 7. I really hope that we hear, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? But baby steps, I'm happy to hear you say that you have more compassion, more empathy, and you realize that you do need to reach out to Wendy. Now, one more thing, Gizelle. Since you're on this new path of love and light, do the right thing. Call Candace up and apologize to her for what you did season 7 and 8, okay? Please. But since Candace is no longer on the show, I'm gonna leave that right here, okay? But back to the party, we see Jacqueline arrive, and it's no shade, but we did not need Jacqueline to come back. I didn't care for Jacqueline when she was on the show in season 7. Don't care for her now. She always looks dehydrated every time she's on camera. Jacqueline just gives off that thirsty vibe. She's just so happy to be there for the free craft services, the gas card, and the day rate. Well, since this is her second season back on the show, hopefully she's getting more than the day rate. I hope they've upped you to at least 3,000 an episode, sis. Let me know. So now we see Mia and the newest friend of the show arrive, and her name is Jossie. So Mia says that she loves Jossie, she's smart, she's a bombshell, and she loves women like that. Then she goes on to say that they met through a mutual friend, and I said, now Mia, be honest. Y'all met through a producer because they said she's coming on the show and she has to come on through somebody, and you volunteered. But please miss me with all that stuff about, oh yeah, we met through a mutual friend. No, you didn't. You met through a producer. That's how it goes. So now we see Wendy arrive. Wendy looked cute. She had a cute orange dress on. The orange really popped on her skin. So we cut to Wendy's confessional, and she says that this invitation doesn't feel like an olive branch, but she does acknowledge that her and Gizelle need to sit down and have a real conversation about the state of their friendship. And y'all are about to do that in episode 2. And the way I am seated for this sit-down conversation, because when I tell you, I can't wait to see how it goes down. Now, anyhow, they're all sitting around talking, waiting for Karen. And we have Ashley asking Jossie about where she's from, what does she do? And we find out that Jossie used to be a flight attendant, and she's with her man who's in the NFL. So her man plays for the same team as Travis Kelce. You know, the one who's dating Taylor Swift. So the way Wendy was fangirling, she was like, oh wait, didn't they just win the Super Bowl? Have you met Taylor Swift? So she's like, yeah, I've met her. And Wendy was like, oh, we'll talk later because I'm low-key a Swiftie. And it's no judgment over here. I love all genres of music, and Miss Taylor Swift does have some bops. You Belong to Me is a classic. She put hands and feet in that song, okay? But that's neither here nor there. But so far, I'm liking Jossie. I like her vibe. I like the fact that she actually has a coin.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
I want to hear more about her story, so I'm here for it. So now Gizelle brings up how Karen is fashionably late, and now Gizelle goes on to ask Mia if she's talked to Karen. So Mia says no, and then Jacqueline interjects, and she's like, oh, but Karen called me up the other night. But Mia and Jacqueline were both so thirsty in this moment because Mia interrupts and says, well, tell them how she called you up drunk. So technically, it doesn't count. So they're all shocked. They're like, wait, what? Recently? So Jacqueline says, yeah, she did sound a bit tipsy when she called me. I said, girl, stop lying. I don't believe this. I think that you and Mia both sat down and concocted this whole entire story. I don't believe a word of it. You guys are both thirsty and desperate for a chat. Wendy wasn't here for this conversation. She says, look, I want no parts. So as they're talking about Karen being tipsy on the phone, according to Jacqueline and Mia, we see Karen finally arrive. And Karen, you were dressed like you were going to Beyonce's Renaissance tour. The cowboy hat, I said, girl, it was definitely giving Renaissance. And Vivian and Stacy arrive at the same time. Now we find out from Wendy that her and Stacy actually met some years ago because they used to be on the same board. So she says that we didn't know each other well, but we have met before, and it's nice to have positive energy join the group. Now mind you, Karen has just gotten there. So you have Gizelle greeting her. She's like, oh girl, we have these specialized drinks just for you. We have one called the 61, another drink called the Surrey County, and the non-alcoholic drink is called the Grand Dame. So Karen's talking about she just can't help herself. She has a disease called the messy jizzy. And I said, but Karen, you're just as messy And also, girl, you did just get your second DUI, so maybe it might be the best thing for you to just stick to non-alcoholic beverages for the time being. So we have the food being passed around, and when I tell you guys, my mouth was watering, my stomach is grumbling right now because I'm hungry. But honey, they had fresh crab, lobster rolls, deviled eggs. Chef's kiss, y'all. Ooh. I can't wait to finish this and hit up some Uber Eats. Y'all know me by now. Anytime there's some good food on the screen, my mouth will be watering, I will be salivating and thinking about the food. So the ladies are trying to get to know Stacy some more. She used to work for QVC and live in Philly, but now she's back in the DMV with her daughter. So she says that her daughter just turned 8, and then she turns to Wendy and says, I remember when you were pregnant with your daughter Cameron. So Wendy says, yeah, she's 5 now. And before I left out the house today, she told me that she did not like my hair. I said, oop, the shade. One thing about it, kids will always tell you the honest truth. So now it's time for Gizelle's hat game, and everybody's gonna wear a hat that she's picked out for them. So because it's Karen's birthday, she's up first, and the hat that Gizelle picked out for her is called Hollywood. So Karen puts the hat on, and Gizelle tells her that everybody has questions about her DUI, and she told them to ask her when she got there. So Karen's like, okay, well, do you guys have any questions? I'm here. So Jacqueline, let me whack you quickly, because the way you were talking about Karen 10 minutes ago, saying that she called you up drunk and tipsy, and now you're talking about, oh, Karen, I'm just so happy that you're safe, and thank God you're here because you could have killed yourself or killed somebody, but it's no judgment over here. So I just said, girl, you're so phony. You were just trying to spill some tea, and now you're up in Karen's face acting like you just love her so much. Stop. So now Stacy jumps in and says, who are we to judge? Nobody should be casting any judgment. So Karen agrees, and she says, look, I'm not really worried about people judging me, but what I will say is this. Everything I do is amped up by 10, and I said, well, girl, duh, you're on TV. So then she says, my whole thing is, I'm aware that you guys can pick a side on where you stand, and I want to know who are the real soldiers for Karen Huger. I said, girl, not soldiers. So now Karen ends it by saying that she doesn't want to have any fake bitches around her. They were all like, well, damn. So now Karen goes on to say that they need to all be very mindful and very demure of how they go low. I couldn't help myself. I had to say it. You see how Karen deflects when talking about her DUI? Very mindful, very demure, very delusional. Now, one thing about it, Ashley is going to always ask a question, especially when it's some mess. So she's like, well, can you give us a timeline? And Karen says, as long as it takes for the wheels of justice to prevail. I said, Karen, if you don't stop with the BS, what are you talking about, the wheels of justice to prevail? You got behind the wheel drunk. Are you serious? Like, what are we saying right now? So Ashley is obviously annoyed by that answer, and she says that it's the same song and dance when it comes to Karen. How it's sensitive, how her lawyers are advising her not to talk about it. And I said, while that's true, Ashley, at the same time, you're not one to talk, because you've been giving us the same song and dance about this divorce. That's not happening. So now it's Ashley's turn to put on a hat, and Gizelle gives her the cowgirl hat. Now, not a whole lot happened here. Gizelle and Ashley both announced that they're doing a GNA fusion wellness, and Wendy had me screaming. She was like, it's bad enough that we have GNA, but what are they fusing? So now we get to Mia, and Gizelle gives Mia the king hat because she says that Mia is pretty much pimping out 2 men. So they start talking about Mia's new man, and Mia says he's not a rapper, he's a radio personality, and Jacqueline says, yes, he's not a rapper. So now Gizelle throws some shade, and she's like, so has Jacqueline shared him yet? Because we know that you guys swap men. Stacy's reaction had me screaming. She was like, oh my. So Mia says, oh no, ink does not play about me. And you could tell that Mia and Jacqueline were a bit annoyed. So now Karen brings up Gordon and she wants to know if they're ever going to see him again. And Mia says, yeah, you'll see him around. He is leaning on me and Ink. So we find out that the other day Gordon had gone somewhere and she said that she washed all his laundry and Ink folded all his clothes. Mia lies about everything, so whatever comes out of her mouth, take it with a grain of salt. And once again, we have Jacqueline inserting herself because she wants a moment. She thinks that Mia and Ink are great for each other, and Mia and Gordon were more of a business partnership. Everybody's confused hearing that. Even Gizelle is like, wait, did Gordon know that it was a business partnership? And Jacqueline says they both knew it was. And Karen's like, wait, surely it wasn't all business because you gave birth. Now, here's my thing. I don't know why they're all surprised to hear that, because Mia made it quite clear that she only got with him for money. And Gordon knew that too. So here's where things go left. Karen says that she feels bad for Gordon, and especially when he told the world that their kids had seen Mia in bed with another man. So she continues on by saying that she cares for Mia's children a lot, and she felt so bad to see all this mess being plastered on TV like that. So of course Mia's defensive and she says, I didn't plaster my babies on TV, their father did. And I said, Mia, you brought this storyline to the show. You wanted this to secure your place for season 9 and you got your wish. Don't sit up here and act like you're a victim. You've made the entire world privy to all your nonsense that should be behind closed doors, and now you want to get mad when somebody calls you out about it. So now Gizelle jumps in and she's co-signing on what Karen is saying, and she says, look, Mia, truth be told, you did not protect your kids at all costs, because the fact that you've mixed in Ink with Gordon, it's a lot going on. Mia's not trying to hear it. She's getting upset, and she's like, there was no mix, and the only person who knows what really went on is Jacqueline. Then she starts giving us an Oscar-worthy performance with no tears, I might add. So she goes on to say, what was I supposed to do? Stay in an abusive marriage? And Karen says, girl, nobody's saying that. So now Mia cuts her off and she starts screaming. She's like, so why would you say that I don't protect my kids? So now Wendy interjects. And Wendy, I have to gently give you a little, slap on the wrist, because you jumping in to defend Mia had me a bit perplexed. Mia has yet to give you a real apology for how she assaulted you 2 seasons ago. And I can bet money that if it were the other way around, if you were the one who was on the receiving end of Karen and Gizelle giving you a tongue lashing, she would not come to your aid. So seeing you jump to her defense really annoyed me. And I understand that you're a kind person, you're empathetic, but let Mia fight her own battles. But Wendy's asking if Karen and Gizelle will stop because it's a heavy topic, they're all mothers. And now we see Mia still fake crying and cursing at Karen and Gizelle, and now she gets up to leave. So as she walks out, she's like, don't follow me either. And we see Jacqueline and I think Jossie get up to check on her. But we end the episode with Mia fake sobbing in the bathroom, saying how effed up it is. And then we see Wendy at the table saying that it's really heavy and how that was a lot because at their core, they're all mothers. Again, Wendy, Mia is a grown-ass woman. She's a big girl. And let her fight her own battles. You don't need to be her mouthpiece. Let Jacqueline or Jossie do that. I saw that opinions were split down the middle about this whole argument between Karen, Gizelle, and Mia. In my opinion, I'm on Karen and Gizelle's side. I felt no way about them calling Mia out for her behavior. What she's doing is shameful and it's wrong. I don't think that Mia realizes the lasting effects that are going to happen because of what she's done. There are so many other storylines that she could have focused on, but for her to make this her storyline about who's her child's father, we should not be seeing this on national TV. Some lines just should not be crossed to me. And again, I felt no way about Karen and Gizelle telling her what's what. But y'all, Potomac is back. I was loving this premiere episode, and I am cautiously optimistic that season 9 just might be enjoyable. And with that, I want to say thank you, Jesus. Won't he do it? Because Potomac has been in the dark ages for quite some time, and it's about time for things to change.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Thank you.
But I've kept you guys here long enough. Thank you all for watching my recap. Thank you all for listening on the podcast. And you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.